I'm Denise Carter, 47, and I've learned life loves to throw punches when you're just trying to do right. It was a muggy afternoon in Raleigh, the kind where the air sticks to your skin like a bad memory. I was at Harper's department store, a big box maze of fluorescent lights and overpriced gadgets. My Judge Advocate General's Corps badge was tucked in my purse. I was off duty, just there to grab a gift for my nephew's graduation. I'd just been appointed a military judge, a role I earned through years of grit, but nobody here knew that. I wanted to keep it that way, blend in like any other shopper in my sundress and sneakers, maybe soak up a little normalcy for once. I was browsing the electronics aisle when I spotted a young black teen, Malik, looking like a deer in headlights. He was clutching a crumpled $20 bill, staring at a wall of earbuds, clearly overwhelmed. His eyes darted nervously, like he expected trouble just for standing there. I've seen that look too many times, kids like him, scared of being profiled for breathing. Need a hand, sweetheart? I asked, offering a smile that usually puts folks at ease. He hesitated, then nodded. I'm trying to get earbuds for school, but... I don't know, he mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. I knelt beside him, scanning the price tags. Let's find you a deal, I said, pointing out a solid pair he could afford. We chatted as I explained the specs, battery life, sound quality, my voice calm, like I was talking to my own kid. Malik's shoulders relaxed, his smile breaking through. You're good at this, ma'am, he said, and I chuckled. Years of haggling, kid. Stick with me. A few shoppers nearby nodded, an older white woman in a floral scarf saying, That's sweet of you, helping him out. The store hummed with life, carts clinking, music droning, the faint scent of cheap cologne from the perfume counter. For a moment, it felt good, like I was making a small dent in the world's roughness. Then, like a storm cloud rolling in, the store clerk, Brad Wheeler, swooped down. He was a lanky white guy, late 30s, with a crooked name tag and a smirk that screamed trouble. Hey, you, he barked, zeroing in on me like I'd set off an alarm. What's going on here? His tone was sharp, accusing, like I'd been caught pocketing something. I stood, wiping my hands on my dress, my gut twisting. I know that tone, it's never just a question. Just helping him pick earbuds, I said, keeping my voice steady, though inside I was bracing for the same old nonsense. Helping? Brad scoffed, loud enough to hush the aisle. Looks like you're up to something. You with him? Malik froze, his $20 crumpling in his fist. She's just being nice, he muttered, but Brad cut him off. Quiet, kid. I'm talking to her. The store went still, shoppers pausing, some whispering, others looking away. The woman in the scarf frowned, but most stayed silent, complicit in their cowardice. Brad stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. Got ID, or are you just here to stir up trouble? Trouble? For helping a kid buy earbuds? My blood boiled, but I've played this game before, stay calm, don't give them a reason. Inside, I was screaming, what the hell is wrong with you people? Some fools think kindness is a crime, I muttered, just loud enough for Malik to hear. He gave me a small, scared smile. I pulled out my ID, my hands steady despite the humiliation burning my chest. Brad snatched it, sneering like he'd caught me red-handed. Stay here. I'm checking this, he said, strutting toward the service desk. The aisle felt smaller now, the air heavy with whispers and stares. I leaned toward Malik, whispering, You're okay, kid. But my mind was racing. I've argued cases in military courts, faced down hardened officers, but nothing cuts like being treated like a nobody for being black. I thought of my nephew, how I'd promised him a world where he wouldn't face this. Today wasn't that world. I stood in the electronics aisle, arms crossed, trying to keep my cool while Brad played store cop like he was auditioning for a bad movie. The air in Harper's department store was thick, not just with the hum of fluorescent lights but with the weight of every eye sneaking glances. Malik stood beside me, his $20 bill crumpled in his fist, his eyes darting to the exit like he wanted to bolt. I gave him a nod, a silent "we're still here," but inside, I was a furnace, anger, doubt, and that familiar sting of being targeted for existing while black. Why does helping a kid always land me in this kind of mess? Brad strutted back from the service desk, tossing my ID onto a display shelf like it was yesterday's trash. "Denise Carter," he drawled, my name a sneer on his lips. "You're clean, but I don't like your vibe." Vibe? Oh, the nerve of this fool, acting like I owed him gratitude for not calling the cops over nothing. I picked up my ID, the plastic edge digging into my fingers, and forced a smile that felt more like a grimace. "Can I go now, or is helping a kid a felony these days?" I asked, my sarcasm sharp enough to slice through his ego. He laughed, a grating sound that made my skin crawl. "You're done here. Leave, or I'm calling security to drag you out." The aisle went dead quiet, shoppers freezing mid-step, their carts squeaking to a halt. Malik's eyes widened, and the older woman in the floral scarf from earlier pulled out her phone, filming with a steady hand. Brad noticed and bristled. "Put that away, ma'am," he snapped, but she just raised an eyebrow, unfazed. "Dragging me out?" I said, leaning in, my voice low but dripping with indignation. "For what, Brad? Saving your customers from walking away empty-handed?" My heart pounded, but I kept my stance firm. I knew his type, thriving on power, backed by a system that lets him act like a king in a cheap polo shirt. Malik whispered, "Please, don't get in trouble for me," his voice shaky. That stung worse than Brad's words. He was scared for me, not himself. I wanted to tell him I was a judge, that Brad was the one in over his head, but my off-duty status kept my lips sealed. Then, like a ray of sunlight through a storm, Ms. Vivian walked in. She's a black community organizer, late 50s, with a sharp tongue and a reputation for shutting down nonsense. She'd been browsing nearby and caught Brad's tirade. "Brad Wheeler, picking on folks again," she called, her phone already recording. "This is hitting X, honey." The crowd perked up, some pulling out their own phones, turning the aisle into a live stream. Brad's face turned beet red. "Stay out of this, Vivian," he growled, but she didn't flinch. Vivian turned to me, her eyes warm but fierce. "You okay, sister?" I nodded, grateful but wary. This was about to get uglier. "Just dealing with another fool who thinks I'm the problem," I said, letting my sarcasm cut deep. Vivian grinned, still filming. "Brad, you sure you want this online? Harassing a woman for helping a kid?" The woman in the scarf chimed in, "You're making a mistake, young man." Brad ignored her, pointing at me. "You're banned, Carter. Don't come back." "Banned? From a store where I was just a customer?" I almost laughed, but the threat was real. I've seen men like Brad escalate, turn a power trip into something worse, calling security, planting stories. My mind raced, should I flash my JAG badge, end this circus? But that wouldn't fix the bigger issue, the system that lets Brad think he's untouchable. The crowd's whispers grew louder, some filming, others looking away. My doubts screamed, "Walk away, keep your cover," but my anger was louder. This wasn't just about me. It was about Malik, Vivian, every black person who's been profiled for existing. "You're digging your own grave, Brad," I said, my voice steady but burning. He smirked, but it was shaky, his eyes darting to Vivian's phone. The tension was a live wire, sparking with every glance. I wasn't backing down, not today. This is the climax. Everything you've been waiting for is right here. Stay tuned to see how the hero put everyone in their place. The electronics aisle of Harper's department store was a pressure cooker, every whisper and glance fueling the fire. Brad stood by a display, arms crossed, smirking like he'd won a prize. My purse hung heavy on my shoulder, my Judge Advocate General's badge burning a hole inside. I could flash it, watch his world crumble, but that felt too easy, like letting him off the hook for the system he leaned into without a thought. Malik stood close, his $20 still crumpled, eyes wide with fear. Ms. Vivian's phone kept rolling, her steady hand a beacon of truth, while the woman in the floral scarf filmed too, turning the aisle into a public stage. "Last chance, Carter," Brad sneered. "Leave, or I'm calling the cops." The store was silent, shoppers frozen, carts abandoned. I took a breath, my anger sharpening into resolve. "You're digging your own grave, Brad," I said, my voice steady, laced with irony. "Banning me? That's a choice you'll choke on." He laughed, but it was nervous, his eyes flicking to Vivian's phone. Then the store's double doors swung open, and in walked Colonel James Ellis, my mentor from the JAG Corps, a black man in his 60s with a presence that could hush a courtroom. He was in Raleigh for a conference and had agreed to meet me here to celebrate my new judgeship. "Denise, what's this?" he asked, his voice calm but cutting through the tension like a blade. Brad stammered, "Just handling a troublemaker, sir." He assumed James was just another shopper, his smirk faltering but not gone. I stepped forward, my heart steady now. "Colonel, Brad here banned me for helping this young man pick earbuds." I let a smirk slip, just enough to rattle Brad. Vivian chimed in, holding up her phone. "Got it all on video, James. Brad's been harassing her since she stepped in." The crowd buzzed, phones out, capturing every word. The woman in the scarf nodded, her camera steady. "It's true, sir. He's out of line." James's eyes locked on Brad, who was sweating now. "Brad, are you aware Denise Carter is a judge advocate general, appointed as a military judge?" The aisle gasped, a collective shockwave. Brad's face went white, his smirk vanishing. "Judge," he choked out, his voice barely a whisper. I pulled my JAG badge from my purse, holding it up for all to see. "Yeah, Brad. That troublemaker you banned? She's got more authority than you'll ever dream of." The store erupted, gasps, cheers, a few claps. Malik grinned, his shoulders lifting. Vivian winked, still filming. "This is gold, Denise," she said. James continued, "Your actions reflect a bias that has no place here, Brad. I'm notifying your manager, and I expect consequences." Brad opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He slunk toward the service desk, the crowd parting like he was contagious. A security guard, now unsure, followed him, not me. I turned to Malik, my voice warm. "Pick those earbuds, kid. They're on me." His eyes shone, and he nodded, clutching his $20 like a trophy. The crowd cheered louder, the woman in the scarf approaching. "Knew you were something special," she said, smiling. I laughed, the weight lifting. "Just trying to do right," I replied. Later, as I stood at the checkout, buying Malik's earbuds, I got a call from the store's regional manager, alerted by Vivian's video, which was already blowing up on X. Brad was suspended, pending review. I thought of my nephew, my community, all the times we've fought this fight. This win was for them, too. I wasn't just a judge in a courtroom, I was proof we could shift the narrative, one moment at a time. I smiled, ready for the next battle.